All right, so I'm in Miami, and welcome to the Bout Whatever podcast. Where we at?
We're here in Jon Louis studio,
right.
Studio 24. Right now, we're located at Pier 19, and we have like the penthouse view, which inspires me throughout the day. Getting back to my natural thought, I'm an artist, a painter, and I like to consider myself an artist of many things. I do the physical sculpting, also hand-painted, crafted pieces, but I also like to create impacts and experiences and just moments. I like to build moments. I'm a moment builder, so.
Yeah, well, tell me, I mean, like I said, how we were talking about earlier before we started recording, I know you from working at our house where you had your space up in their gallery, but I haven't seen you since 2016. So one thing I do want to touch on, and I want to kind of get like a little bit more background information on you, because we don't really, we know each other on a very basic level. And I did some, minor research on you. Just tell me, you're from the which area? Space Coast, I referred to as, right? Because this is what's going to all tie into the art that we have all behind us and everything.
Not for sure. So I was born in New York, so I got the New York Puerto Rican roots. So you could think of my family and my father was in New York kind of during like the crack era and those times. So I was raised in the Bronx area, 183rd, and then we left New York because of a lot of family troubles, and we came and we moved to Melbourne, Florida, which it was initially where I was raised.
Yeah.
So I was raised.
I didn't even know you came from New York.
Florida. Yeah, it came from New York, man. So I have like those New York roots. I don't know how to really explain it, but anyone from New York understands the root of New York and how like being raised from a Puerto Rican descendant family. It's a lot, and it's a great experience uprising. But then we moved to Melbourne, Florida to have the family chill out and relax a little bit. And Melbourne, Florida is where, Kennedy Space Center is not too far away. So my instincts and a lot of my experiences growing up was learning a lot about NASA, the space industry, and having teachers that their parents went to space or their parents worked and engineered in NASA. So like sitting in elementary school, first, second grade, I'm learning from people who are so impacted by space. So they're kind of like pitching these ideas to us to try to help us develop that side of our brains to be interested in space.
Yeah, and that's cool too. It's like its own version of like a military family. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that's interesting that you lived in a town where the Space Center is, and by being in that space, like literally everybody that lives in that area is infatuated with the program, and like that's what they kind of live by, and push that on to the kids when they're young. That's super interesting to me. That's like it's like going to like a special program instead of like a normal school. You know what I mean?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I never thought of it in that sense as like a military family, but it actually kind of worked like that, because you got to understand that astronauts, you got Buzz Aldrin and all these people going up into space, they were looked at as, superheroes, athletes. They were looked at as like, people would just, cheer every time they saw them. Like they were just, they were the biggest role models of the city.
Yeah.
So being raised with that sort of impact in the community is really attached to myself. But to go back to it, I didn't know that my community inspired me until I became an adult, because I was just living regularly. Like I'm thinking, as a child, these are just regular experiences, and there's nothing out the norm for it. Until you grow up and then you're like, oh,
put things into perspective.
All these things that was happening when I was a kid has entered my life again, and now I'm producing space art that was all inspired from being my childhood. From real life experiences. And as an artist, I strongly believe to be an artist is to create from real life experiences and things that you really go through and just express it through art.
Yeah. It's interesting to me too. It's like, did you come from like, like an art family where it was art always something like a piece of you growing up? Like how did it transfer? How did coming from New York and then going to such, it's such a drastic change too. Like, cause I also did like a similar move from New York to Florida, man. And like, tell me about like the process on how you began working on art, and was it kind of just like always a factor in your life or what?
As a child, it was always like my most interesting topic in school. I feel like as most kids, I loved going to art class, and in middle school, continue adapting, and in high school, I took it to the next level, and I was taking like all the art classes, crafting clay, and getting really involved. And it's funny because when I was doing it, it's nothing but emo kids in the classroom of art. You know, like you don't really see all the cool kids. Cool kids are taking like gym classes and other things like that, like baseball, basketball. But I was always in the art class with the emo kids, man. So I was producing artwork at you know, a high school level, and from high school it continued developing.
So wait, that's when you started? You started like actually making art in high school?
Yeah, I mean, doing it as a curricular activity, but it wasn't like.
But was it like a passion? Like, were you at home? Were you drawing in your room? Were you painting in your room as a kid? Like,
it was passionate enough for me to bring the work home.
Okay,
like, you know, ain't no kids bringing work home, but when you start, like, in my sense, where like I was like working on something, like, damn, I'm not done. I'll stay in school like an extra hour in the art class working on it. So I knew I had a drive for it, but at that point in time, I didn't see it as a career. It was just something I really enjoyed. You know?
And like, when did you kind of like get into the point where you were kind of just like, all right, this is what I'm interested in? And like you say, how you were in the art classes with like the emo kids and stuff, like, was that like a weird transition for you to like kind of get to that point where you were okay with that and accepting that? Or like,
I mean, I always felt like I never fit in with the emo kids, and I never fit in with like the super cool kids of the school. I always felt like I was by myself in a box, you know. So yeah, I didn't really adapt to either culture. I just stood to my own. But after that, like getting out of school, I did some soul searching. Like, that's really what happened to me in my life. I got out of high school, and I didn't have no direction. I was like, man, what do I want to do with my life, you know? I felt like I was falling in the wrong category of my potential. Like, I was doing all these dumb things as a, you know, a kid coming out of high school, not being focused, you know, chasing women and going out every night. And then I started noticing, like, damn, I'm
living
not
that Miami lifestyle.
That Miami lifestyle. Like, I'm not doing nothing with my life. Like, what am I really doing? So I did some soul searching.
And this is just fresh out of high school?
Yeah, fresh out of high school. I started doing some soul searching, and I was like, all right, what do I want to be? Like, what do I want to specialize in? And I started surfing. Surfing was one of them. Mm-hmm. Like, I just wanted to like do something that continued my drive. So I started surfing. I started skimboarding. I started picking up different activities, man, trying to figure out what type of person I was. I was cutting hair. You know, I was boxing. I did boxing for like 2-3 years, very competitive. You know, one thing I know about myself looking back is that whatever I picked up at that time, I did 100% of it. Like,
and it's weird. It's funny too, because you kind of like switched, like how you said you were talking about in high school. You kind of didn't really go with the sports kids, and you kind of didn't fit. You kind of like were in the art class, and then all of a sudden you get out of high school. And you're like doing soul searching, but now all the soul searching you're doing has to do with like you're boxing, you're surfing, you're doing, you know what I mean? Like, you're getting more into the active stuff. Like, what was that? How did that even like pan out?
I don't know, man. You know, the people that were around me were all boxing. I grew up in a family of boxers, and everyone was doing that. So I'm like, all right, I'll just check this out for a little bit. You know, I'm very open minded, so I'm like, I'll test this out for a little bit, and then I start getting cool with a few white kids in my neighborhood. You know, I lived on the beach, and I was like, oh, well, let me test this out. And then I went surfing. I definitely didn't fit in with that crowd, or like even the sport. I mean, it was cool. It was a good experience, but it just wasn't, you know, 2-3 years into it, I'm just like, nah, that's not for me. And then the last thing I picked up was art.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I did this before. I always enjoyed it. Let me try it out again. And I remember this very instinct where I was painting on I had like a computer table in my room, and I put like a piece of paper down, like a big, actually it was like a notebook sketch paper. Yeah. I put it down on this office table, and I just started painting. Like randomly, just start painting. And I'm working on this piece for like 3-4 days, and my brother comes in the room, and he's like, what are you doing, bro? And I'm just like, dog, I'm gonna be an artist. Like, I felt it. Like, it was like a spiritual release. Like, I just felt like, I don't know, like I get the highest when I'm painting. Like, you know, people catch highs from multiple things, and I felt the highest while I was creating artwork. Like, I was just addicted, like just turned on, and just in embracing it, like seriously. And so I started painting this piece, and my brother saw my interest for it was like growing and growing, and he was like, bro, what are you doing? And I'm just like, yo, I'm gonna sell this painting for like $10,000.
Yeah.
Or $100,000. Like I just randomly said that.
Yeah, like a Jim Carrey moment. You know, like the Jim Carrey thing.
Yeah.
Where he wrote like a blank check for like $1 million. He said and he always kept it, and then he got his first $1 million.
Wow.
It's like one of those types of things. Yeah.
I think it was something like that. I'm not gonna lie, and it was strange to me because removing the money factor, it was just I felt what I was doing was that important.
Yeah.
And it was my first real painting, out of high school where I'm looking at art as a career now.
Yeah.
It's my first career-driven piece. So I'm looking at it, and I felt the importance of what I was doing was bigger than me. It was bigger than my moment. It was bigger than the time. It was like, yo, this piece is gonna be timeless. I still have it downstairs.
Yeah.
Like it's been in my home. So I sell it for $100,000. So I had that piece, and my brother was so confused, and he's like, bro, that's never gonna work. And I just looked at him and was like, bro, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
This shit is gonna hit. Like I felt it like that important because I look up to my brother. So like for someone that I look up to say that, and for me to have that instant response, like you don't know what you're talking about. This shit, I'm on to something. Yeah. So it was in me. It's something awoken in me.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, talk to me about your earlier work, because we're gonna go into the space art stuff. But talk to me what was kind of like the stuff that you were working on when you were in high school, or when you got out and you were like, all right, boom, this is what I'm doing. Like, what was your style like? What kind of stuff were you working on? Were you painting?
I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because hopefully like there's some artists like listen to this conversation afterwards. But every artist isn't an artist because they produce art. Like that doesn't make you an artist. Like if you produce art, that doesn't make you an artist. What really makes you an artist is more in the spiritual aspect. Like you become an artist after you've produced for so much time. You actually understand yourself as an artist. Like for example, I'm producing, I'm trying to be something with my artwork. You'll catch a moment where like art defines you after a certain point in time. So like in the beginning stages, you're just producing because you're working on like your talent, or you're working on your composures.
Trying to find your voice.
And when your art starts speaking by itself, that's when you've become an artist.
Word. Okay.
Like where your voice is almost like a vocabulary. Like okay, you've reached your language, or you reached your moment, your peak. And now you could call yourself an artist, not because you paint Marilyn Monroe's or you're doing all these things. Just to, I understand the beginning stages. People use celebrities and they do like lions and stuff like that. That's what I was painting in the beginning. Okay. Because that was the beginning stage of creating my technique. And then when I found stories, when I thought of my artwork like an open book, like I want people to feel this way. I want to tell this story. I want you to be impacted, or I want you to feel this way when you look at my work. That's when you become an artist, when you're actually creating stories, not art. You know what I mean? And
do you feel like that painting that you're telling me about, the first one, do you feel like you're holding on to that is because that's like the moment where you kind of you realize you know what I mean? Like exactly what you're saying. Like you're like, okay, this is more important. This means more to me now than just just painting to say that I painted.
Yeah, I think I was able to envision the graph. Like I'm here at this small point, the beginning, the beginning of my career, and I could see the graph just rising. So I think that's why I kept the piece. Yeah. Well, describe me the piece. Like,
tell me about the piece without showing me.
It's all about technique. At that point in time, I'm thinking of technique, and I painted like it was like the famous Basquiat, Andy Warhol image. Actually, I'll end up bringing it up during this conversation so people can see it. Maybe I'll have Yesenia, one of our assistants, pick it up. But yeah, it was a picture of Andy Warhol and a picture of Basquiat, and they were with their boxing gloves.
Okay, I know that picture.
So I was connected to boxing at the point in time. So a lot of my pieces in the beginning of my career were just a whole bunch of people wearing boxing gloves.
That's what I was. Yeah, I remember that at our house. Like a lot of like, wasn't there like ballerinas with boxing gloves?
Yeah, ballerina with boxing gloves, because I was trying to like move my original inspiration, because I dropped boxing like cold turkey for my art career, because it was like, to be a boxer you need to put like 8-10 hours in the gym. You got to really put in time. So to be an artist, you got to do the same thing, so you can't really do both at once. So I just was like, nah, I'm gonna stick to this art stuff. For sure.
That's cool though. I mean, it's like because when did the whole space art thing start? Because I'm trying now that you mentioned that, I'm like going back to our time at our house, and I'm like, were you doing the astronauts at our house before too, or is this like a new thing?
Yeah, with astronauts, I've been doing astronauts, I would say, like for 4 or 5 years now. Yeah,
Okay.
I started in
right around when I left.
2016, 2017, I started painting astronauts, and that was like so the space astronauts, the whole concept to the astronauts is so we all exploring as humans. You know, we're on this earth, we're exploring, we're on our own journey. Sometimes we're going through life trying to figure it out. And I imagine my astronauts to be more like a reflection of self. So I look at what I'm creating to be like a part of us, like humanity. Like we're all searching for something. We're all trying to understand what our place is. And when astronauts go to space, they're trying to, you know, bring a form of life with them and find life out there. So I think of it like that. Like we're all here on Earth trying to find our life, like trying to find the connection to our life. And astronauts, when they go out to space, they're trying to find life. You know what I mean? So I just find, I just try to cross connected with what we're doing every day. You know, and a lot of my pieces now, this right here is the Embrace series, is like 70% done. But, you know, this is COVID 2021 we're speaking. And one of the ideas that hit me last year was I want to create pieces that show couples, friends, and other people embracing each other for who they are and stuff like that. Because a lot of times, like, we look at people and it's like, man, this person's not doing good with his life, or he's doing this, he's making these bad decisions, or, you know, you think of your spouse like, I don't really like what's going on here. But I think, like, how about we just embrace each other for who we are and be more accepting to that. So that's what this series is kind of revolving around. It's the embrace. You see the cutout over here. That was kind of like the beginning. That series is called The Companion, but it's two astronauts uplifting each other. So I'm all about positive recognition with my work. It's not always been like that. Like for me, like I say, producing art is like telling a story about yourself. Yeah. Or telling a story about what you're doing. So now the story of my life is embracing my spouse, you know? Like I work together side by side with my girlfriend. So like a lot of things I'm doing has to do with, you know, connecting with one another.
Being a whole.
But before that, you know, living a single life and doing a lot of self-destructive shit. I was painting like really dark paintings. You know what I mean? Like a lot of shit I was doing was really dark, and it was really like unstable. Like you could see the instability in my life through my work, and I think that's where you become an artist. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And you were talking about how, like, you know, as you go on through life, you learn more about yourself and more. That's something I've been thinking about a lot lately too, man. Is like, you know, I'm getting a little. You've been doing this for a long time, but like when I started this podcast, like I'm getting a late start, but it's just like I'm getting to the age now where it's just like I want to do something that's gonna leave like some sort of mark, presence, you know, a presence, or like feel like I need to get my voice out there. So it's always interesting to me. That's why I wanted to talk to you, because I always like to talk to people that got out and did it. You know what I mean? And that like took the action and did it, because that's something that I'm constantly working on. You know what I mean? And talk to me, like it was just interesting to me to that how so like you progressed into this artwork now, but like how do you see things moving forward? Like how do you see your life working as things are progressing and things are getting better and bigger? Yeah. How do you think that's like affecting your art? Nah, I appreciate that question, man. But I want to touch base back on what you were saying about like getting at a certain age. Like, you know, in this world, like especially in the art world and in many other cases too besides art, is that like aging isn't really an issue, man. Like you can expand at any age you like. You know what I mean? Like you're at your greatest time. Your greatest time is not going to compare to anyone else's greatest time. Like your time comes when it comes, you know? And age doesn't affect it. Like, for example, like I feel like I'm getting better with age. You know, a lot of people think about age as like, damn, man, I'm getting older. But I think we're all getting better with age.
I'm honestly, I feel the same way too, so man. Like I feel like I'm looking forward to the big 3-0. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
It's like ready.
We're all gonna I think we gotta appreciate each other more when we're getting older, because it's like, man, you're going through more experiences. Your mental analyzations, like you're going to be able to calculate moments a little better, and you're just gonna be a superhero like human, you know what I mean? So age is gonna do you better, you know. Back to your question, you were saying where do I see my career going, and I think what I see is really big, bro. Like I'm a dreamer, like I'm a daydreamer. I think like I'm taking a shower, or even when I'm producing, sometimes I'll bust out laughing, or like I'll be really excited, like damn, like I'm doing this right now. And sometimes I'll live in the presence of what I'm doing, but like most of the time I'm thinking of the future.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of all the collections I'm gonna build. I'm thinking of creating like museum experiences. I'm thinking about building my own museum. I'm thinking about, going to different countries, and like, so back to what I was mentioning before, like I create art from experiences. So I'm thinking of going to new countries, understanding the culture for like a week, and then spending 2 months just producing artwork that was impacted to me through their culture. So it's like I'm thinking on a very grand scale. Like I want to produce sculptures that are 14, 25 feet tall.
Yeah.
And I think my goal is to adapt and create a strong team, because I won't be able to do it on my own. My girlfriend is saying that she does all my management, so she was a good addition. But by next year, it's going to be time to add more people to that team, so we could develop and do and create all these dream opportunities for ourselves. You know? Also, huge part of that is learning how to move your money around and being a little financial aware, because that right there will take your dreams away for sure.
Yeah, being smart with your money, man. That kind of takes me into something else that I wanted to touch on with you too. Yeah, actually, let me get some of that water. A little parched. Talk to me a little bit. We've been talking about like the creative side of things, and I want to definitely touch base on the apartment situation that you were telling me about out in Miami with the art scene. But talk to me a little bit about the negatives, some of the things you run into in this business that maybe somebody that's like watching this would like to hear. Like, what are some of the things that you found that you've run into that have maybe made you want to stop, but you just realize you were just like, all right, it is what it is. You got to push through.
The negative parts about being an artist in this position is expectations, especially with social media. And, I hate podcasts and hate a lot of times that people talk about social media, because I just don't like talking about it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like social media. But anyways, expectations is hard to deal with. Like you produce a piece and it's really impactful, or you produce a moment, you produce whatever you're producing, you're a ballerina and you do like an amazing dance or whatever. You produce something that's so beautiful. Then you're like, damn, I worked so hard to produce this that's so beautiful, and I got to do it again. You know what I mean? Because people already saw this and it's beautiful and it's great, and it's getting all these likes, or it's getting all this, all these inquiries, and people are really connecting to it. Now I got to do it again and again and again. And again.
So it's like this.
I got to top yourself every time. Like you got to like level up. And I think that sort of expectation from the world, and I think that's pretty tough to deal with. Sometimes that pushes my creation process a little slower, because I'm always overthinking the process. Like, damn, is this one gonna hit like the other one, or is this one gonna make it like the other one, or whatever? Like, what will people really think about this? But I try to do things that doesn't stay in my head for too long. It's like you got to force yourself out of that box, because you're gonna always create your next moment is your best moment. So I try to think of it like that.
Yeah, same. I mean, I'm very much the same when it comes to like putting stuff out. I just put it out and let it go. You know what I mean? Like that's really all you can do.
Right.
But talk to me. I want to touch more on like the expectations. Talk to me a little bit, because I've worked in production and stuff, so I know like the relationships between client and painter, client, artist, client, and space. Talk to me a little bit about like some of the things that you might run into with clients.
Challenges with clients?
Challenges with clients, yeah. You ever like run into things like that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like my concept for clients is I want to work to help you build a collection.
Yeah.
I'm helping you to build a collection, so it's not you buy it because you love it and you consider it to be a part of your home. So a lot of those times, I think the biggest problem that artists have now is that there's so much artists out there. So it's like, how do you really captivate your client and make them your client? You know, like,
yeah. And how do
really
you
bring
build
them
and
in
how do you even build these relationships?
And
you know?
it's key. It's building relationships and keeping them, because a lot of people forget they're always waiting for the next client when you already have 5 or 10. You could just adapt those relationships and continue making those old clients continue collecting your work. So for us, we do a lot of dinners. You know, what's the real shit here is that, like, I care about my clients. You know, I really care.
Yeah.
But at this point, we have 300, 400, 500 collectors and 2,000 inquiries. You know, we're hitting 1,000. So it's so hard to expand my care to everyone, or, you know, continue building relationships with everyone. But we try to, like, manage that, man. That's like part of our job, is like, how do we continue building this relationship with the people that support us? I mean, it's difficult. With social platforms, it helps us a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, because we're in and out, you know, commenting, liking, and appreciating other clients' talents and stuff like that. Another huge challenge that I want artists to really focus on is letting someone talk you down your price. You know what I mean? Like, you always want to leave room for wiggle room, but there's a point where, like, you work hard to earn your value. So understand your value, and don't let people look. If they can't afford it, then that's not your client.
Right.
You know, like, yo, if you can't afford this right now, I put you on a payment plan, or you can't do a payment plan, then you're not my client. Like, I appreciate your support. I appreciate that you appreciate what I'm doing, but unfortunately, like, we can't continue business.
Yeah.
And I think it's earning the heart and the sole purpose to actually say that to someone, like, yo, you know, I apologize for the inconvenience, but I can't bring my price down to that extreme. So a lot of artists, they get chewed up in Instagram. You know, they don't have managers, and they got clients talking them down 40, 50%. Like, nah, that can't be me. So I think those moments are something to consider as an artist.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I want to see how you feel about this. I think it was like episode 3 on here. I had my homie Ryan Bach, who's a crazy visual artist. I'll show you his stuff when we get done with this. But we had a conversation about selling art and the responsibility of the person who buys it.
Yeah.
And he was explaining that there's like, it's like a unspoken thing that artists like, how would you, okay, I'll just put you in a situation. Like, say somebody bought your painting, right?
Yeah.
And they immediately sold it. Like, they bought it off you and immediately sold it for doubling the price.
Yeah.
But as an artist, you don't really see a cut of that. So how does that, he was him and other people were like very upset at the fact that it was kind of like a lack of respect between the client and the artist.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever run into stuff like that, or like?
I'm pretty sure we have had clients to resell the work, but not that something we're aware of. You know, I personally don't mind it, man. It's you got to think about it. You're an artist. You want people to invest in what you're doing so you could produce more.
Yeah.
I mean, and collectors, a lot of collectors are investors. So they find that their money can be used to make more money. And you just got to respect people's investments. I mean, I don't really get upset at things like that. Like, you know, if that's the decision you want to make, then, you know, all power to you. I mean, you supported me at the cost that I was willing to take.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Like, this is the cost I'm willing to take. Like, this is the cost that I feel like, you know, is fair for my production, my business.
And do you feel like you kind of like, by doing that, like you sign it away, basically? Like, it's yours now. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, you're looking at the market of stocks and stuff like that. Like, look at StockX, people buying shoes for $200, selling them for $2,000-$3,000. I mean, that's the business. You know, there's a business in investments. So, I mean, I respect the art of investing. So if an investor could come to me and buy a painting for like $10,000 and $20,000, he could buy that painting for me and then take it and sell it for $80,000. I mean, I respect your art of investing in good businessship. There's nothing I
that's
can
really
do.
It's really that.
I mean, you got to charge it to the game, man. Like,
yeah, and that's kind of like what we ended.
Maybe
it with.
You should have it sold so low.
Yeah,
maybe you should put your price up.
Yeah,
you know, maybe if it's crazy because at this point in time, we get collectors that come to my gallery. And they look at the work and they're like, man, I would buy this piece if it was double the price.
Yeah.
Like your prices, I could see them, you know, rising very high because I would buy it at double.
Yeah.
You know, so that thoughts to me on that, it's just like, damn, you know, that's a compliment, you know. So if you got artists who's selling his work and someone's reselling it for more, that to me is a compliment.
Yeah, that's true.
That means you could work on bringing your prices up.
Yeah,
that's a compliment to me.
Yeah, that's true. Talk to me a little bit about, since we're going to stay on this topic, talk to me a little bit about like the art scene in Miami in general. Like, how is it with like collaborating? How do you find like the other artists in town, like in the city? Like, how do you feel like people work together? Do you feel like, because I know in New York, you know, the biggest complaint about New York is that people are just they only are concerned about what they got going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so you say you do these dinners with the collectors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you also do, you know, gatherings with other artists? And
Yeah, to be honest with you, I see a lot of beautiful work that I love, man. I'm discovering artists every day, and I'm like so enthusiastic. I'm a collector as well, so I like buy paintings for my home, and I'm always involved in sales with other artists and stuff like that. But when it comes down to like physical events, I like to be like the curator of the space and kind of like understand the people I have in the house. Like I curate the space in all senses. Like I invite particular collectors to be around particular collectors. Like I source them precisely.
Yeah.
You know? And for me, there's no space for like another artist to be there, because not for any challenges, but more so like my art dealers that I work with and like my curators and the team that's helping to sell the work, is kind of sometimes better when the artist isn't present, because we're talking you up to like a level to help sell the work, and sometimes like an artist interference could take the sales or transaction in a different direction. It's really important to be an artist and a businessman, and a lot of people who produce art just don't have that innate talent.
Yeah.
So they have to pass it on to somebody else to manage it. You know, like you manage the sales for me, just stay in the studio and produce. In the circumstances that I'm in, I started off as an art dealer. So I have a history of art dealing.
Okay.
And now I'm an artist. So like my relationships and understanding a client and moving them in the right direction to help them add things to their collection is a little like a talent of mine that I really appreciate.
Well, talk me through that. Like, what's like how's the conversation go when you're like meeting with some collectors and you're explaining your art and you're trying to explain the message behind it and what you're trying to do? Like,
you know, I think one thing that we fail as artists to do is to completely explain our artwork. I think that's something that shouldn't be done. Like, I try not to explain the reasons why I produce it. Only if it's like certain circumstances. So you look at a painting, right? And going back to it, it's a story.
Yeah.
It's a story, and I produced this from a story in my life. But my life isn't the same as my collector's life. So when my collector sees this piece, he has to connect to it as the story, as he's reading it. You know, if you read the book and I read the same book, we're gonna get different outcomes to it. So I need you to envision it and customize your own story about the painting. So sometimes when I'm like browsing through the gallery with a collector and he asks me like, why did you produce this piece? Like, what's the story behind it? And I'll probably just ask them like, you know, how did this piece impact you?
Yeah, how do you make you feel?
Because my story is different than yours. Like, what do you see in this piece? Because I'm not gonna own it, you're gonna own it. So like, what is your you know, opinion? What is your connection? What do you think of it? And, you know, sometimes if they're having a hard time reading it, then I'll probably give like little hints of like what the connection is. But other than that, I want them to dream their own dream.
Yeah.
I mean,
and did that take a little bit of time to develop that? Like how you took time to develop
hell
your
yeah,
voice
bro.
and painting.
I'm gonna tell you exactly
It took you
how it
time to like
happened.
learn how to talk to people.
I'll tell you
right?
exactly
And,
how it happened. Yeah, it takes like, honestly, having a gallery is amazing because you're speaking to 300 people a week, so you understand people more than anything.
Yeah.
You know, so it really happened at the point where like I get two collectors coming in, like people who can afford the work and who own a collection. They come in, they see a piece, and I'm sitting there super excited. So like I'm over explaining a painting, like, oh, this is the reason why I produced this with this.
Yeah,
and that,
saying
and that.
too much.
Saying too much, and then they came here, they're looking at it, they love it, they want to buy it, and then they're like, oh,
You just gave me too much away about the vibe and
there's
the feeling,
too much,
you know?
and you know what? I can't relate to your story.
Yeah.
So like
word.
this painting for me, I don't see that in it.
Yeah, and
So-
even by not doing that, by not speaking too much, you're kind of like going off of your client too. Like you can kind of
Yeah.
get like how you said, you get a vibe from how they feel, and that's how you kind of lean into the conversation. You know what I mean?
Right. Not for sure. I mean, everyone has their own connection to certain things, so you got to just help them build their connection to your work. And I think in that way, most artists would be continue their success with that.
And how early on did you like? When did you find out? Like, or when did you kind of discover that? Like, when was the moment in time where you're like, all right, man,
Well,
like we can handle this?
You know, I was an assistant curator at Our House Gallery, and from 2016 to like 2017.
Shout out
2018.
Our House.
Shout out to Our House. They
Rocco.
That moment, like Tom Shirk was like one of my advisors right now. He's one of my mentors. I mean, he's a really big key player in my life.
Yeah.
Key player, because he taught me everything about understanding understanding the collector in and out, like the whole mentality, like how to, communicate, how to carry yourself, and how to be charismatic. And, I'm already naturally passionate at all times, but he just taught me how to communicate, speak their language and be a chameleon around them, and that, I mean, without his grace and without his knowledge, I mean, it would take me a longer time to adapt it myself,
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to, because nobody else is going to be able to describe what you do better than yourself, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So being able to get that out the way and like learn that skill is major. For
sure.
But let's go into the paintings a little bit. Talk to me about like, because I'm not huge into the art world, so arts and crafts was never my thing, So talk to me a little bit about like some of the materials and things that you're using and how they've developed, like what you were using before and stuff.
So I recently transitioned. So at this point, this year and last year, my whole focus is oils. Man, people were telling me for years, yo, you gotta use oils, and I'm like, that's pretty old school. I'm gonna stick to acrylic.
Yeah.
But then I found oils, bro, and I've been addicted. It's just like, so oil is a particular material that is a particular medium that is always wet. Like it's wet.
Yeah, I was about to say, it takes a long time to like real settle in.
Yeah, it takes like 6 months to settle in, but at the same time, like that means you have, 6 months of editing compared to acrylic. It sets in like 3 minutes. So you could think of acrylic as like glue with pigment. So like once you put that down, it's stiff. You can't even move it. So it's almost like a still piece. Like this right here, I can move it. I could transition it. I could change the arms. Like it's just completely customizable at all times. So I love that aspect of it. So I use oils on canvas and on denim. I usually do like a wash on it. Like I'll use like pigment dyes on the background. And then I'll use oil sticks.
Okay.
Shout out to RNF. They're out of New York too. They make all my oil sticks, and they're very the highest quality, highest grade oil you can get. And then that's what I'm working on now. And then I do bronze sculptures.
Yeah, because talk to me a little bit about the chubby bronze, the chubby NASA guy.
This one's called the Gordito. It was a really important piece in my career. I took a trip to Mexico for about 2-3 weeks, and I was just like, it was my first time going on vacation after like a few years. So I went on vacation, and being an artist, you like barely take vacation in the beginning. So I finally went on vacation to Mexico, and my brain was expanded just looking at like mountains and seeing like rivers and all the things that we don't have in Florida. Like we don't have no rivers in Florida. We don't got mountains. We don't have like certain sceneries that we miss out on here. So I felt like my brain and just like my visuals was just expanded. Like I was expanding my creativity in Mexico. And because of that, I decided to expand the body form of the astronaut and just make him like full of inspiration. It's like an abundance of joy, abundance of love.
Yeah, like now that you explained it, like full of life and experiences. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
man.
Seeing shit and like seeing things in the bigger picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that was like my first thought, and like right when I got back from Mexico, it's crazy, man. I was so inspired. I painted my whole house orange and blue and like all these Mexican like tribal colors. It's actually like terracotta orange, and then I painted this sculpture. So that's what I was telling you, like traveling and coming back and being able to like instantly produce something from your experiences, I think is a beautiful thing. It keeps the ball rolling,
Yeah, man. This is dope.
Yeah, I can't wait to finish this one.
How much longer do you think you got left in this piece?
Paintings usually take me about 2 weeks, but I'm doing 10-hour days, and that's usually 6 days a week. So you're looking at 60 hours a week, and that's like 120 hours a painting, you know?
That's a lot, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
But, you know, when I'm sitting here, I play some old school music, you know, and I get into my Puerto Rican roots. I play some salsa and all that.
Yeah.
And it's just the time you don't even feel it, man. You don't even feel it.
That's great. Yeah, talk to me about like tell me a little bit more about like your process. Actually, you know what? Talk to me, not necessarily your process. Tell me, I'm really interested in what's that feel like when you first started selling paintings, when you sell something that you're like super proud of. Like what does that do for you? I mean, it's obviously enough to keep you going and it's a satisfaction. Yeah. But like tell me how that really makes you feel, like how after you put hours and hours and hours onto a piece and somebody's like, yo, I'm gonna give you whatever your price is. X amount. And
so in the beginning, man, I used to get so excited, bro. Like in our gallery, we have like a storage department where like the collectors, you know, can't see past the door or whatever. So like I would sell something on the floor and then I'll run to the back and I'll be smiling from ear to ear, like, oh my God, guys. And I'll tell everyone in the back who's packing and everything, like, I just sold a piece. I would just run around the whole fucking studio. Yeah. And then I'd pack, you know.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, so I'll run to the back of the studio, bring the painting, pack it up, be so excited. And the excitement really came from just accomplishing something. Like, it was like, man, I finally, you know, made a few sales. But after years pass, man, you get kind of numb to sales. And now you kind of like, at my point, I produce 3 to 4 paintings a month. So at the level that I produce, which is purposeful because, you know, I try to be artist that has limited inventory. So I'm sold out all year. Like, this is the painting that we're looking at that's on film right now is the only painting in my inventory right now. Okay. And the reason is because I don't have much inventory. So when something's out, you know, our 4,000 or 5,000 collectors first get choices to make a purchase. And then if they don't buy anything, then it moves on to the public. Usually it sells before it goes out to the public. So that's a great strategy for us. But back to sales, right? Like, now sales is like strategy based. Like, yeah. So it's that process is fun, but I know knowing like while I'm working, everything is gonna sell. Yeah. So it's no longer like a extreme excitement, but I am proud of I'm more proud of the collector. Yeah. Like, I'm proud for them. I'm proud that this is gonna make us extreme impact in their lives. Like, I'm like, bro, I know this is going to change. It's going to change their life. Yo, I have collectors right now that text me like, yo, I wake up every morning to this piece in my room and it changes my life. So I'm no longer excited about the accomplishment of the process of the sale, but more so knowing the impact that collector is going to have. Yeah, you know? Like every day is like, yo, it's so embraceful for me and my wife. I had a collector who says, you know, like, they get emotional because their family was part of the NASA program back in like the 80s or whatever. So they get really emotional when they see the piece, bro. It's like, you know, it's so crazy. We didn't get to experience that. But like, when the first rockets were going into space, people were crying. Yeah. Bro. You got to think about it. We're sending humans into space to an unknown world that hasn't even been discovered
for
yet.
Months on end, right? Like, so they're going up there for a minute.
It's an emotional impact. Like, it's like society has developed something that was almost only a dream, you know, and so this topic is really it's emotional for people. Yeah, man.
And you have worked with NASA, right?
Yeah, me and NASA have done. Well, you know, it's funny people say NASA, but it's really like a lot of contractors that, you know, work side by side with NASA. NASA being a government company, they don't really do too much projects like directly with artists like that, but it'll be like contractors that work with NASA. Like, it'll be like astronauts. So we've worked with astronaut Nicole Stott, amazing woman. She runs the space for our foundation. So a lot of our exhibitions will include a foundation so we can actually make true financial impact. So like a percentage of our sales go to a foundation where they can actually usually this foundation will paint with children and they'll send space suits into space. So I've worked with Nicole. I work with Buzz Aldrin, their family foundation. I just donated a piece to them like last month. So it's cool because they put a whole inventory set of my work on their website. and in person they'll do auctions and stuff, and the funds that come from my paintings, a percentage will go to their foundation for them to continue educational programs with children that are going to be like the ones that are walking to Mars, and they're going to be building a civilization in Mars. Right now we have Mars programs. So I'm funding, at this point in time, I'm funding Mars programs.
That's sick.
I'm funding moon programs. I could say that. I could say that like my finances are going towards the better good of humanity. So that's really exciting,
Yeah, that's cool to have that tied into your art, man.
Because it's all true, like from all aspects, from the creation of what I'm doing to, I'm part of the science technical aspect. I'm part of the space aspect. I'm part of the urban culture aspect, where you think of like BBC and all these companies really influenced by space. I've collaborated with BBC. So it's like I'm touching all groups and walks of life, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, when's the official Jon Louis spacesuit? When's that happening, man? Is that a goal of yours? Trying to like put together that seems like something that would be really cool, man. Like put together a full suit for somebody to use and to take a photo in. And
I'll tell you, my next real goal would be going to space.
Going to space.
Word. Yeah. So Virgin Galactic is building like a commercial flight program. So I think like some of their flights back in 2025, 2024 are going to be like 250,000. So if I could save up for something like that, that would be amazing.
That would be dope.
I mean, I have to do it. It's like I have to. I don't even have a choice.
Yeah.
It's like sign me up. So we've signed up already on their website. They have like a sign up sheet and all that.
Word.
So that I think that would be my next big moment. After I do that, then I think a lot of ideas will arise and more collaborations, and I really feel and understand what space is all about. And I can make a decision where I love it or is it,
that's dope.
pull away from it.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe once you do that, that'll be like the cap. That'll be like the thing that's like, all right, this was a moment in my life. Now it's like, because I mean, how you talk about the statue, the Gordito, right? That's what you named it.
Yeah, Gordito.
Gordito. Okay. Like, shit, man. You went to Mexico and saw the mountains and the rivers and stuff, but now you're about to see the world. You know what I mean? So like, what's next after that?
Like when I get home,
what's gonna come? Yeah.
Right. I think what I'd like to do, and it's been a thought of mine for a long time, is build a museum myself.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be like the Kickstarter to like having my own space where I could see people, come in and be embraced by the space and captivated. I think creating a museum would be the next step.
Hell yeah, man.
A motion picture museum, something that's not just so basic. It's just like you come in and you can smell things, you can hear things, and maybe it feels like space.
Word. Yeah.
Like you feel like you get a spacey vibe in it.
Yeah, that's what's up, man.
I would like that a lot.
So before we wrap up, though, I just wanted to say thank you for coming on. But like, tell people where they can find your art and stuff like that. Where people can contact you, things like that. Just a little basic information. It's going to be all in the bio and stuff like that. Right. But I just want you to be able to kind of get your message out to anybody who wants
interested to do some further research on my craft, my career, and where I'm going. It's Jonlouis.art.com. So that's JONLOUIS.ART. Wait, hold up. Jonlouis.art.com. So it's JONLOUISART.com. And then my Instagram is JONLOUIS.art. So I mean, that's where I think our most activeness is social media. Instagram, we're super active on Instagram. Yeah. That's kind of like our usually we'll post on that platform before anything else. So
hell yeah, man. Well, dude, I thank you for sitting down with me, man. This was a fun little conversation.
No, thank you so much for being here,
I appreciate
bro.
you having me come through the studio. Much, yeah, man. It's good. Sure. It's good that we get to catch up when I was down here in Miami for a couple.
It's a blessing, man, to be able to tell a story and see who lives it'll change. So yeah. I'm happy you're doing what you're doing. I hope you continue to go hard and
man,
keep developing. But it was great, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Boom.